good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session. The prime agenda for this webinar would be to introduce the one-year MBA in Digital Enterprise Management program, as well as address any queries that you have for us regarding the same. I'm Mahima Makhija, a student of the current cohort of Digital Enterprise Management program here at IIM Udaipur. Before joining the DEM program, I was working with Oracle as a cloud pre-sales consultant and wanted to pursue an MBA which gives me both exposure to technical as well as business problems and how to solve them with technology. So far, this course has been rigorous and exciting and has helped me to build upon my technical and business acumen. Also, we've been lucky to have onboarded onto campus safely and have hybrid sessions to enrich our MBA experience. I hereby take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed panelists for the webinar today. We are delighted to have with us Professor Rajesh Agarwal, who is the chairperson for one-year MBA programs at IIM Udaipur, Dr. Y. Shekhar, who is in charge for Center for Digital Enterprise at IIM Udaipur, and Professor Janit Shah, who is the founding director and professor of operations management at IIM Udaipur. He has authored supply chain management text and cases and is the leading authority in fields of supply chain management and operations strategy. His book is being used across many management schools across India. He has also extensively published national and international journals. Under Janat Sir's leadership, IIM Udaipur has gained AACSB Accreditation in November 2018 and has recently been listed on the prestigious QS 2020 Masters in Management rankings, as well as in the Financial Times Master in Management ranking 2019. IIM Udaipur is now the youngest B school in the world on both of these rankings. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to Janit sir to address the session.
Thank you, Mahima, and good evening. So thank you for joining us today this evening. I'm going to, in my opening remarks, probably talk a little bit about the institute and why we started this program and where we are at this stage. We, as an institute, we started in 2011. We completed a decade. And from beginning, we wanted to build this school as something which will be recognized globally and always take leadership in terms of both thought leadership and the kind of programs which we do. And, when we look at the end of a decade, I think we're very proud that we have a 3 MBA program, DM being one of them, one-year MBA. And we think we've done well compared to any other schools, and probably people look at us as one of the most in terms of improvement path, probably one of the leading schools. The 2 areas from beginning we have focused on. One, that we should be research focused school, because it's important that as an education institute we create a knowledge. And I'm very proud to say that today, if you look at within a country, we are a top 4 when it comes to research. We are within top 4 within a country. Essentially, we look at a UT Dallas list, which looks at the publication in a top 24 journals in the world. Similarly, when we look at any of our program, we've been, trying to look at program as a transformational journey, because all of you, whether it's Mahima, any other student, we feel it's important that management education is a transformational in nature, where obviously you must understand digital, you understand management, but somewhere we must make sure that you transform as an individual. So that's something which is a core to us. I think we were fairly successful in several programs which we're doing. But about 3 years back, we felt in general in a management education, there's something need to be done to address the way we deal with technology. When we looked at the world, we found if you look at a top 10 companies in the world by market cap, 7 were digital firms. Even all other firms, which were traditional firms, were looking at digital transformation. And we found we didn't have much of that in our curriculum. So we took a very, somebody would say risky, but very ambitious, decision that let's launch a program which is in this space. And we decided to form advisory committee because we felt industry was ahead of us. So we put together certain leaders who has worked with us in designing this program. So we set up a center for digital enterprise, which Shekhar heads the center. And we have this digital enterprise advisory body. And together we have designed this program. And the way we look at this is it's applicable to obviously firms which are digital. We said we need to prepare managers which are going to be either lead businesses within the digital firm or could be with a conventional firm which are going to do a digital transformation. And we want to equip our future leaders for that. Now, obviously, when we launched it, it was the first such in a world, right? Because it was a completely different initiative. But we're very happy to see the way program has progressed. We, as an institute in general, we are a participant centric. What it means is that for us, participant interest is always at the heart. And we will always do what is the best from the participant point of view. And that's something as a motto which we work with anything we do. And somewhere, I think, as an institute, we feel this whole initiative in digital is going to give us a leadership position. As an institute, we have identified, we worked on a vision 2030, where we would be known as a leading institution, and our focus in digital will, provide a leadership. With that, let me stop here and hand over to my colleagues, and would be happy to answer questions you have. Obviously, what we're looking for is set of people who are exciting, who are willing to focus on a future, right? And willing to be part of a program which is still being evolved, because I think we're still trying to make sense out of this new world. And jointly, we keep evolving. And I must say, the kind of response which we got from industry has been overwhelming. And so once again, we would love to have you with us. Again, we want to emphasize, we are not trying to compete with IIT. So this is a program meant for people who want to look at management as primary, but management of a technology-led organization. So we are not trying to make you technologists, but saying, how do you manage in a lead technology-led business? So with that, thank you once again for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll just share my screen and hand over to Rajesh, sir, from here. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mahima. Very good evening to all the participants. Warm welcome to this evening seminar on the program on digital enterprise in management. And I would like to thank Professor Shah for laying out the overall purpose of this program, the context in which this program was conceptualized, and the relevance in the today's world of digital, what this program has in store, and what are the opportunities it offers. So next slide, please. So straight into talking about the program structure. If you join this program, at the end of the program, you get an MBA degree. It's a one-year full-time program, a residential program. It's conceptualized to be an on-campus program. and a residential program. But on account of the limitations of the pandemic, we have had to run it sometimes online, sometimes in hybrid mode. But we only hope that by the time the new batch is ready to come to the campus, we are able to welcome them on campus and run the classes on campus. But that depends on the situation at that point in time, as you can appreciate. To be able to apply in this program after your graduation, you must have 36 months or 3 years of full-time work experience, right? It's not part-time, it's not apprenticeship, but full-time work experience. And then you have to have a valid GRE or a Gmat or a CAT score to be able to apply. Now, many of you ask this question as to, previous slide, please. Many people ask this question as to what is the minimum cutoff to join this program. And I would like to mention this here, that we do not have a specific cutoff for these entrance tests, right? When we evaluate the application of a candidate, we evaluate it in total terms, which means we look at the profile of the candidate, the quality of work experience, of course, the Gmat, GRE or CAT score. And in totality, the admission committee takes a view and decides to shortlist or not shortlist. So I would encourage, when you ask questions towards the end, we will not labor this point as to what is the minimum cutoff. And I would like to say this: if you think you are keen in joining in this program, and you think digital is something that excites you, instead of debating too much about the whether I have a good score or a bad score, you go ahead and apply and leave the rest to the admissions committee to decide what is, whether the application holds ground or not. So I would think, instead of debating too much, you should go ahead and apply and then see whether you get a call and get selected. That's the best way forward, rather than to double guessing as to what is the minimum cutoff, right? So that's the program structure. Now, next slide, please. So as Professor Shah mentioned, the digital world is absolutely something very new, and more so after the pandemic. Most organizations, if not all, have to consider digital very, very seriously, right? Perhaps no organization on this planet can afford to ignore what is happening in the digital world. And that is the reason you can imagine that the design of this program and the delivery of the program is new. But because as an IIM, we have history of experience, most of our faculty bring in a lot of experience in the field of management education. And that is where we have tried to put together management with the context of digital. That's what we have tried to do in this program. So those people who join the program, what do? Very first, in the first few months, you are taught the fundamentals of business management, right? Like any MBA program has to start with fundamentals of business management, finance, HR, operations, strategy, all those courses you learn. Having learned that, then you understand the fundamentals of digital management. When we say fundamentals of digital management, basically it cuts across many areas. You talk about agile, you talk about design thinking, multi-sided platform business models. You try and understand how traditional organizations work, how digital organizations work. And this is the kind of appreciation that you get in these courses, concerning fundamentals of digital management. Then, having done that, we talk about data and technology. In fact, whenever you say something is digital, at the heart of digital is data and technology. How can, as an organization, we take advantage of the power of technology and data to apply it in a managerial context? That is the point. Professor Shah was talking about, this is not a program which is going to make you the best technology expert. No, that's not the intention. That is what IITs and engineering colleges would do. Our expertise is in how do we take advantage of data and technology and make high quality decisions, right? How can it impact strategic decision making? How can we improve efficiency? How can we take that advantage, right? And then Having done those courses, then we get into applying whatever you have learned thus far into specific industry verticals. So for example, how do you take advantage of all this in a healthcare industry or retail industry or fintech or B2B? So you have opportunities to do courses in specific industry verticals. Then comes the issue of, okay, you've learned all this so far so good. But then what about actually experiencing doing these things in the real life context? See, the power of high quality management education is to bring real life to the classroom, not textbook to the classroom. That's not the power of IIMs. That's not the power of IIM Udaipur. We would like to bring the real life to the classroom. And one of the ways you bring real life to the classroom is by solving real life industry problem. And that is what you do in experiencing digital management, where you will be working on a live project of a company and try and solve the problem the company is facing. How do you do that? You do that by the benefit of all the courses you have done since joining the program. And towards the end, you are ready with the help of the professors who will guide you, right? Mentors who will guide you. And then you are able to do that. As a result, you are ready to go and join the industry. You are ready to take up the challenges and an opportunity, take advantage of the opportunities the digital world has to offer you. And that's what's gone behind the design of the program. Next slide, please. Right. So I'm not going to read out the courses, but you can see that here, whatever I was talking about in the previous slide, sequentially, these are the courses that you shall be doing, starting with fundamentals of business management, then digital management, then technology and data, advanced analytics, blockchain, IoT, cloud, and then application industry vertical, and then a project. With that combination, we believe you are ready to take on the challenge of the real life corporate sector. Next slide, please. So as Professor Shah mentioned, that as an institution, we believe that digital is the future as far as the business world goes. And given the importance of this issue, the institute has set up a center of digital enterprise, one of which activities of which is this running this one-year MBA program. And that center is headed by Dr. Y. Shekhar, and who is present with us. So I would like to invite Dr. Shekhar to talk about the center and the relevance of the center in conducting the one-year MBA program in digital enterprise management. So over to you, Dr. Shekhar.
Thank you, Professor Rajesh, and good evening and warm welcome to all the members attending this webinar and my members on the panel. As we mentioned earlier, it was important to look at something that was emerging from the concept of how we put together several pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. It's not easy to put a curriculum for something that's emerging. So which is where we looked at the whole purpose of the center to look at the academic part in conjunction with concepts that come in from the traditional side and practices that come from the business side, which are very, very contemporary. We all understand that digital, and especially in the last 2 years, the way things have changed for every one of us, that use of technology and data has changed many ways in which businesses engage with their customers or suppliers. And therefore, as consumers, we are also experiencing a change at a societal level. Now, how do you translate all that into knowledge and reap the benefits of that collective knowledge in terms of a case or in terms of a concept and bring it into a classroom is where the center is very, very active. So one of the things that the center looks at is in terms of industry outreach. We believe that courses that are so cutting edge need to have a lot of practitioners from the industry coming and teaching. And the projects that the students work on are of a similar kind. So I'm probably making a statement here just to highlight how things are. students don't work on projects that were done by the previous batch students. So each batch of the student is working on a new problem. So you are actually exposed to not only a real life problem, but also a problem which is probably happening for the very first time. And therefore you have to think through the methods, you have to think through the processes and apply the knowledge that has been imparted to you via the courses and find the results out, which needs to be accepted back by the industry. So this is part of an evaluation. This kind of exposes the student a lot to how business leaders, managers are actually doing their work on a day-to-day basis. So to get all these things in place, if you go into the next slide, we first have created this board members who are constantly advising us on what is relevant from an industry perspective. What should be taught or how should it be taught from a student's learning point of view. And these are filtered through the academicians who put a lot of effort in coming up with the relevant cases, as well as the methodology that is best suited for the learning of a particular subject. So some subjects are conceptual in nature, some subjects are very practical in nature, and some therefore go through a workshop mode so that you're constantly working, whereas some of them you may have to sit and solve problems. So you have all kinds of learning coming in, which is what the advisory members, as you can see from the slide, come from very diverse industry backgrounds, have requested that we focus on. So you get not only the depth, but also the width in this particular program as far as technology and management are concerned. Maybe just please move on. So this is something that most students put a lot of emphasis on, and that's why we are putting up this particular slide. Again, this is part of what Professor Shah mentioned. We listen to the needs of the students and the participants. And this has been one aspect that has been connected with the, I wouldn't say performance, but has been connected strongly with how a program is unfolding itself. We've been very fortunate to get 100% placement for the current batch. Now, please remember, when you are taking a final decision, this is one of the inputs that you can take. What is going to happen next year is not something any one of us can predict, but what we mention here is that collectively, we put in a lot of effort to bring in good companies, the right kind of companies to the campus to hire the candidates. And in this case, you can see the kind of distribution of companies, the kind of companies that have come in and hired from the batch that Mahima is in, and which would be graduating in April this year. One of the other important aspects, Mahima, if you can just press, is the kind of compensation students receive. So the average compensation for the current batch is little upwards of 21 lakhs, which is little more than what it was for the previous batch. So we are seeing a positive swing in the CTC, which is another indicator that the students said must be highlighted on. I would repeat, use these as inputs, but it should only guide you towards a decision making. This may hold true next year, may not hold true next year. None of us can influence it. So we actually respond to the scenario that is available to us at that point of time. Maybe move on to the next one, which is therefore a point that we have to come back to. And I would request Professor Rajesh Agarwal to come and conclude it by saying, so what are those facets and why DEM becomes most relevant in today's context?
Professor, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for laying out the functioning of the Center for Digital Enterprise. Now, coming back to the question as to why should you consider a one-year MBA in digital enterprise management? First thing is, as Professor Shah mentioned, you should consider this program only if you think this program aligns very well with your career objectives, right? Ultimately, you need to benefit from this program. But what we believe that we have put together a unique program, which is not common. There are not very many programs you will find on with the background of management as well as the context of digital. And that's what makes it a unique program. Unique program, which is good for several decades to come, right? You get an MBA degree, right? At the end of it all, you get an MBA degree. This program is very heavily conceptualized as well as delivered in collaboration with industry, which is what makes it very unique. Dr. Shekhar talked about the advisory board. Advisory board consisting of industry captains in the field of digital are the ones who guide us in the designing of the program. And also many industry folks come and teach in this program. And that's what makes it very industry oriented, real life oriented. And Mahima in her presentation at the beginning talked about IIM Udaipur not only being an IIM, but we have several laurels, if I may say, to our credit in terms of rankings and accreditation. Professor Shah talked about we being among the top 4 in the country in research. And Mahima talked about the QS World University ranking, Financial Times ranking. What these rankings actually tell us is one thing, that whatever we do at IIM Udaipur, we do with the intent of delivering a very high quality, right? There's no shortcut in the program design, delivery, placement. Every activity is done with very high quality orientation. And I would encourage also that you speak to some of the graduates who have become alum of this program or are currently studying, so that you get a better feel of what the program is all about. Think about it and you apply only if you think it makes sense for you, right? So now I think we would be happy to, next slide, please, Mahima. Next, yeah. So if you have any questions, you can write to us or you can call up at the numbers given. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this. Because the deadline of applying in this cycle is 2nd of February, and there are not many days left, so you may have to be quick in terms of asking any clarification that you may have. As I said, the deadline for application is 2nd of February, and that's the last cycle beyond which there is no more application. There's no more admission process open after 2nd of February. So now we shall take your questions that you have posted in Q&A section. So over to Mahima to conduct the rest of the session.
Sure. Thank you so much, professors, and thank you for the comprehensive coverage and taking us through the program. I urge all the participants and attendees to please key in their queries in the Q&A section and not in the chat. One by one, we'll be taking the queries we have got so far. Starting with Shobit Gupta, who has asked about the general GRE cutoff for DEM and GSCM, so which I believe Professor Rajesh has covered, that we do not have a particular cutoff, and the overall comprehensive strength of the application is considered. So you are encouraged to apply. We have the next question from an anonymous attendee. It says, as this is a one-year program, can I pursue PhD after DEM?
So let me take that question. So, various institutions have their various, eligibility criteria, and it's very difficult to give you a uniform answer. So if you are planning to pursue a PhD, and if you have done this MBA degree from IIM Udaipur in DEM, then you have to check with the relevant institution where you propose to apply, whether they consider this eligible for applying in the PhD program or not. It's hard for us to give an answer for that.
Sure. I hope that answers. Moving on, we have a question from Vismaya Mohanram. She says, what are the roles offered by the companies for this DEM course?
Yes, let me take that, Mahima. At a broader level, the program prepares the students to work on the business side with data and technology. And therefore, the kind of roles that open up for students are like business analyst, or they could be in a digital transformation project, or they could be in something that is emerging as a big role, which is customer experience management. So you see that any organization that's looking at transforming itself needs people who understand business and technology together. And that is where the roles are actually opening up for our students. However, being a management program, product management in the digital context also plays an important role. So these are the broad areas where our students get placed.
Moving on to the next question from Pankaj. I have a total of 11 plus years of work experience. Also, I have done a post-graduation in construction management. Can I apply for this course?
I'll take this. So, Pankaj, thank you very much for asking this question. So what we have experienced over the years, in general, particularly about the DEM program as well, that participants with an experience of 3 to 8 years have the best chance of getting placed smoothly, right? The moment the number of years of experience exceed 8 years, it starts becoming difficult. So 8 to 10 year category, with difficulty, still the placement happens. Once it comes to the participants over 10 years of experience, it becomes extremely hard, close to impossible to place them. So the candid answer is, if you have more than 10 years of experience, I would not really encourage you to apply, because simply from the placement perspective, it becomes very, very challenging for us to place. There's one more thing I want to mention here. When the companies come to campuses like us, they're essentially coming to recruit or induct people who are fresh or few years of experience. Somebody like you who has more than 10 years of experience basically require what is called lateral placement. And campuses are not the best place for lateral placement, is what we have experienced. So that's my brief answer, that, if you're 10 plus years of experience, particularly in this program, in IIM Udaipur, we believe it will be challenging for us to place.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have an anonymous question. I'm into e-commerce and digital marketing from last 3 years, working as a key account manager in Flipkart. Is this course for me?
Yes, indeed. The course is for you. It is the course is not designed for a particular industry or a particular profile. In that sense, it's very, very agnostic and general. So you can definitely take advantage of what is being taught from this particular program. You seem to have got experience in what we call as the new age business. And therefore, it would be good for you to look at this program, share your knowledge, and also understand the perspectives that others in the class can come up with. So it is quite relevant in that sense.
Thank you, sir. Next question is,
just add something here. We believe that, key requirement is, your passion about technology, that you're passionate about this whole future where the technology is going to drive the business, right? In that sense, we are agnostic to your actually background in terms of which experience you bring in, right? We believe as long as you have some work experience, because several courses leverage that idea. The key would be your passion about it and your willingness to grapple with some of these issues, right? So definitely somebody who's averse to technology should not look at it, right? And you should be open to idea to keep learning about new technology from a business perspective. So finally, the call you will have to take, right? Is this something you want to get into, right? So we don't insist on a specific domain experience. And I teach in this program, Professor Rajesh Agarwal teaches in this program, and assume that people are going to come from a heterogeneous, industry background, right? So we do insist on a certain minimum work experience, but we don't necessarily insist on certain domain. I hope it helps in for several questions. Some of these issues are there where people are asking this question. So I think a lot of it is you will have to answer for yourself, right? I think a lot of areas which we have talked about, we think it's very exciting, right? We are excited as an institute, right? But finally, you will have to take that call, right? Because, when somebody asks me about the roles, I think honestly, we're dealing with very complex, uncertain world. If somebody asks me a question, what kind of roles you can see 5 years from now, I would say we have a zero visibility. So the way we look at this program is we equip you to learn. Because, technology which is relevant today, after 5 years, it's possible that a completely new set of technologies will become relevant. But we are seeing the education which you should remain relevant, right? So that's a reason, finally, I think the strength we bring in is the business. Is saying that ability to look at a technology related problem from a business perspective, right? So, that's something, obviously this is a tough balance, right? Which we've been, we keep improving as we go along, but I think it'll continue to have those challenges. But I think definitely we are not trying to replace what IIT would do. We're not trying to replace what ISI is trying to do, So if somebody, I see some questions here which are saying, if I want to be best data scientist, I don't think we are the right place, right? Okay. But if you're saying, how do I use data to make meaningful managerial decisions? Then yes. So we will obviously equip you with it. But we're not equipped you to become a data scientist. So somewhere, this figuring out what you want to focus on is important. Sorry, go ahead, Mahima. Yeah.
Sure. So the next question is, are there any vacancies in married hostels? If not, what are the options I have if I want to bring my spouse along?
So, we have limited facility for married hostel accommodation. It appears that given the cycle that you will be applying, we may not have the vacancy in the married hostel, accommodation. But you can choose to stay outside the campus and come to the campus. But we are happy to talk to you separately more about it if you can call us up.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Nikhil. I wanted your opinion on relevance of my experience of 5 years in sales and marketing at JSW Steel to this course and how it will help me enhance my capabilities.
So let me answer that. I think a lot of it was mentioned by Professor Janat Shah, that, past experience is not necessarily the consideration we have for admitting students into this particular program. The whole thing is, what is that you want to do? And what is that this program can bring you is something that we can jointly address. If you have that passion to look at how digital is transforming any business, not necessarily a steel industry, or if you wish to go back to the steel industry with this particular knowledge, they're all possibilities for you to explore. So we will support you in the area of your interest through our systems of learning and development and placement. But the primary task here is, what is that you wish to achieve? That is what will help you decide whether this course is relevant or
not. Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have in the final evaluation, what percentage of GRE, Gmat or CAT score is considered while shortlisting candidates for interview?
Right. So as we have mentioned before, that we do not have a specific cutoff of these entrance tests in mind. When we evaluate the application of a candidate, we look at all the aspects together, one of which is the entrance test. So I would encourage you again, if digital is something that excites you, without overly worrying about what is your score and whether you have a chance, if I were in your position, I'll go ahead and apply. That's the best way forward, is the advice that I can give you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Next question is GSCM and DEM a full-time degree course or is it a diploma course? If degree, then what is the remark of Institute on HRD Minister's comment for 1-year MBA validity?
Let me answer that. So IIM Udaipur is offering an MBA degree at the conclusion of the program, and if you successfully complete all the requirements of the program, the Ministry of Education has raised some questions about it, and we are in a very constructive dialogue with the ministry, and we hope very soon those issues will be addressed. But at this stage, we continue to offer the program as an MBA degree.
And maybe I'll just add one thing here. This is a collective issue which, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Indore, all of us are, jointly working on it. So it's not something unique to Udaipur. And as Professor Rajesh mentioned, we've been constructively working with this. And we keep consulting our board, and our board has been advising that you should treat this as a 1-year MBA, because we have thought through that why we are calling it a 1-year MBA, right? So, but at the same time, I think the ministry is raising concern, and we are in dialogue with them.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Rajesh and Janat sir. Our next question is, do we have an internship as part of the curriculum?
We do not have an internship as a part of the curriculum because we believe that the limited time of 1 year is best used in doing the series of courses the way I explained to you a while ago. And because you already come with 3 years of experience, we thought internship is not going to be a great value add compared to doing the things that I talked about.
Let me add a couple of perspectives here. Internship is one form of practical learning. There are a whole lot of projects that in different subjects students do. Maybe Mahima can put in her thoughts here. And there is the project that the student is actually engaged in with the industry, and that is evaluated by the industry, which gives the opportunity for the student to put into practice all the learnings, as well as learn new things from the practical challenges that the students face. And being a part of an evaluation, it brings in the seriousness from the industry and from the academic side to make things happen. And that's where we see a lot of learning actually taking place as far as the students are concerned. Is there anything you want to add here, Mahima?
I would like to add a couple of points. Thank you, sir, for the starting point. So actually, we are also currently doing 2 live projects with industries, and which will be rated upon. And even if even as part of a lot of subjects in our curriculum, we have had to have industry interactions. Say, even in HR, we had to pick up 2 companies and analyze them and apply our learnings to those. So even if it's not formally an industry immersion or an internship of sort, but it will definitely, there will be a lot of interactions in multiple courses throughout the curriculum with the industry. So that really helps us put in practical knowledge to use. Yeah. So moving on to the other question, can we provide a statement of purpose or letter of recommendation to boost our candidature?
So we do not need any of these at this stage. We believe your brief video as well as the opportunity to have a conversation with you in the personal interview is good enough for us to be able to assess.
We have a question from Mridul. I'm a business graduate with business consulting work experience. My concerns are twofold. A, Is this a program suitable for professionals with non-engineering or technical background? B, will there be challenges adopting to courses or peer learning since 100% of the current cohort has engineering background and work experience?
So let me take a shot at this. So Mridul, thank you for asking this question. We mentioned in a slightly different manner that we are very agnostic. So we don't look at it as a particular bias that this program provides, other than what we've been saying, that your interest in using technology to solving business problems. So our intake, therefore, looks into this particular factor as saying that it is not just meant for engineers, or for that matter, computer science engineers. We do get people from the other streams and work experiences of different kinds that we encourage. And even in the current batch, it's not 100% who are engineers. Yes, there seems to be a bias, but I'm sure over a period of time, these biases will also change. So this is not a program designed for engineers, but it requires you to put up, certain pre-work or pre-knowledge in the area of technology, or to do some additional work in the area of, say, analytics, or in some cases, people may use some bit of programming techniques which can be learned easily. So these are some of those things that enable you to be a better manager in a digital environment. That's how we look at it. And you don't shy away from challenges that the technology may pose. And that is exactly the kind of role we are preparing you for, that you can roll up your sleeve and do a little bit of work which is technology driven, and largely it is business. However, it is not that you become a programmer, or, like we mentioned earlier, a data scientist, or somebody who's just involved in technology. It is for management.
So, this is an interesting question, because we would like to see more diversity. And we have an advisory body consisting of a real technology leaders. And they have been saying that we must make sure we get a diverse group, because they believe, because they've seen the world, they're leading these businesses, and they're saying if we get a more diverse group, it will help. So I think at a institute level where we keen to have a diverse group, we'd encourage, right? But also I think but you need to also make that effort, right? If you're somebody who is saying, if you come with a mindset that only engineering people can learn this, I think then nobody can help you. But you got to come with this mindset saying that, look, there are technologies there. I'm willing to put in effort to understand them, and we're going to do it together, right? So for example, when I teach this course which I do, we look at operations management, right? Similarly, Professor Rajesh Agrawal looks at financial accounting. And we think there's a lot more of managerial thinking which comes in. And you have to make an attempt to understand technology, right? So there's a difference between somebody who's going to work in a pure technology area vis-a-vis somebody who's going to work on a technology-led businesses. Now, even within a firm, finally, you're going to work with a team which would have diverse group. So I think willing to work in that diverse group is important, right? And we think, we spend a lot of time thinking about this issue. And advisory board was very clear that we must make sure we have a diverse group. And somewhere, I think we want to make an attempt at reaching out to larger group. I think we feel that would make a group, the cohort, more interesting.
Thank you, Professor Janet. Moving on to the next question. I have 12 years of teaching experience. Can I join this course?
As I had mentioned before, that in our experience, anybody in excess of 10 years of experience, it becomes almost impossible to get a placement. So I would candidly encourage you not to apply, because it will be very challenging for us to arrange a placement for somebody with 10 years of experience.
Sure. I think on the similar lines, we have another question. What is the upper limit of the experience for the program? And do you recommend anyone with more than 10 years of experience in the technical business intelligence platform?
So same answer is valid, that, irrespective of the background, simply the number of years of experience, companies are not looking at recruiting people with significant number of years of experience from our campuses.
Sure.
So let me add here, if your purpose is to find another job, and that is where you see this particular course enabling you, then the experience matters, because the way industry looks at profiles is that 3 to 8 years is what we believe is the sweet spot for this particular program. Anything more becomes difficult. However, if you're looking at it from a very independent perspective, that you want to be an entrepreneur, and it is not a corporate career that you want to pursue, you may then express that to us, and you then become eligible for what we call as the sabbatical, or something that does not require you to be constrained by the limits of experience that placement comes up with. So this is how we look at it. So it's a call that you need to make. Our advice to you would be, if we presume you are looking at this from a corporate perspective, then 10 years will be difficult for us to place you.
Moving on to the next question, Abhilash has asked that what's the deadline for application submission, and what is the expected strength of DEM course this year?
Okay, let me answer that. Date is February 2nd, correct, Tanu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so midnight, before midnight of February 2nd, your application should have reached our admission office. And in terms of strength, we are not here to fill up seats. We want to have the right mix of students. So this current batch has 37 students. We do foresee the demand for this particular course, and therefore a possibility of increasing the number of seats. But the intent is not that we have X number of seats and we want to demand for this particular course, and therefore a possibility of increasing the number of seats. But the intent is not that we have X number of seats and we want to go up. Sorry, there was, I think, a backtrack of my voice.
Yes, sir. I think your voice is echoing.
I have no device here that's turned on. Yeah. So coming back, whatever is the right fit, that's how we look at it, and we want to pick these students and not push students through some kind of a filter.
Sure.
But let me just, okay, so one is, I think, just want to re-emphasize that once again, we will not, we have certain threshold level, and we will never, we're never worried about filling up a batch, right? For example, first, we work at a size level, but, you're never worried about filling up a batch, right? For example, first, we work. But we definitely are not going to take more than 45, because we also believe that we want to gradually, so upper limit within which we're going to work. Because we all that we want to gradually, so upper limit within which we're going to work.
What are the job roles that will this program graduate get in a company? I believe Vaishika sir has already covered. What are the job roles will this program graduate get in a company? I believe Vaishika sir has already covered it. Do we want to go over it again, or? Does that
So
answer?
let's move on. There are more questions.
I want to go again, or
Let's move on. There are more questions.
I think some participants have been complaining about an echo. Maybe we can all mute ourselves and try once. Dear participants, please respond if this is clear. Okay, thank you. Okay. Can mechanical or automobile engineers take this course? I believe this has been answered before, that the backgrounds can be from multiple and heterogeneous backgrounds are encouraged. So we would encourage that you apply, and if your profile stands out,
Let me also add here.
We'll take it forward.
Yeah.
Another question from...
Yeah, Mahima, one second. In the current cohort, we do have people from the automobile industry. So like Mahima mentioned, yes, if it excites you, please go ahead and apply.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Ankit. I'm working as a data analyst in B2B company, analytics and data science domain as of now. What career progression can this course lead me to? Total experience, 3 years, analytics experience, 2 years.
Yeah, I think we answered this a while ago in terms of saying that if you're clear that you want to develop your career in a particular area, in this particular case as analyst, then maybe some other programs may help you better than this particular program. There are students who get placed as business analyst from this particular program. You have to see whether that element appeals to you more as compared to being a technical analyst, or what we call as a general analyst. So where you work a lot more with data. Here, as a business analyst, you would work with data, but a lot more with the business side or the outcome of the data. So that's where the difference is.
Let me add something here. I would request, whenever you enter a program like this, don't start with those ideas that I want to go for X role. I think you're limiting yourself, honestly. So please don't do this to yourself. When you do a program like this, you're investing huge, at this stage in life, right? Don't, short sell yourself by saying, okay, I want to do X role and that's why I'm doing a program. I think this, if you come with a little more open mind, because you're going to get interacting with a very bright set of cohort, you're going to interact with a lot of faculty, you're going to interact with a whole lot of practitioners, leaders. And somewhere when you come with an open mind, you're going to see opportunities in a very different way. So my suggestion is don't be this whole, role centric. Honestly, when you do that, you are not going to get the best out of a program like this. Management programs are very different. So for example, one of the things we do, which we are very proud of, is this whole Unnati program, where we help you understand yourself, right? I think a lot of us, when you have been a very narrow role, honestly, we don't understand ourselves. So I think, you're going a disservice to yourself when you start looking at a life in that way. So I would encourage you. I mean, there's no harm in looking at that, but it's more important to come with a more open mind, and take advantage of the program. I think program has a capability, institute has this capability to give you a lot more. A lot of time you limit yourself by being obsessed about, some of these issues. They're important, but I think life is much bigger. And that's the whole idea of education. Education is not for your first job. I mean, first job is important. But, there's a lot more to life when you come to education institution. So try and take advantage of. That's why we talk about transformation journey, right? We want to deal with all that. So maybe, probably I'm spending more time than necessary on this, but to me, this is a very important issue. You need to spend time reflecting about this issue. I think we're going to look at this as simply as a stepping stone to a job I have in mind. Honestly, don't join the program. Okay? Because that's not the way we want you to look at a program. I think you'll be doing a disservice to you, and you'll be doing a disservice to a program.
Thank you, sir. Next is by Neil. I have two queries. I have already applied for DEM Cycle 5 program on 23rd January. After that, what would be the next step? Just want to know the timeline. When will we be notified of the results of our selection and interview process? And what would be the intake for this year? I think intake has already been covered. The second part of the question is, given that I come from the core construction industry, what prerequisite knowledge and abilities would be necessary for the DEM course? Is it true that previous work experience in a sector other than IT has an impact on the kind of employment positions in the digital industry that are available in the placement process? Maybe Tanu ma'am, can you please take up the first question of the notification and the timeline?
Yeah, sure. So regarding the timeline you're asking for, so means the deadline will be completing by 2nd Feb. You will tentatively get a reply from the admission office within the next week.
Sure. And when will we be notified of selection and interview process? Okay, within the next week. And the second question is,
I just need to add, like the deadline to announcement of a result is 12th Feb. So we will be conducting interview process, and we will communicate all the participants who are applying in a program. We will give them the outcome before 12th Feb.
Sure. I hope that answers Neil. Your second part of the question is, I come from a co-construction industry. What prerequisite knowledge and abilities would be necessary for the DEM course? And does the previous work experience in another other than IT have an impact on the kind of employment positions?
Let me answer that. Neil, I don't think it really matters. What you need to bring in with you is that openness of learning and the experience that you have, the way you have understood business and the way you have connected with those challenges and opportunities your work has presented itself with. So there is nothing else that we need. We do suggest certain courses to people who are joining the program. That is more like a preparatory one. And once you get selected, you will also receive that intimation.
But let me add something here. Finally, when companies recruit, every company has their own way of looking at it, right? So I think, we think everybody would get a reasonable choices, but at the same time, if somebody is saying, I want only X company, each company has their own way of looking at life, right? So, there are companies which may insist that I would prefer people from a IT background. And, I don't think we're in a position to tell a company, we believe that, the wider experience with this program, people should be able to take that, work on that kind of assignments. But, each company has their own way of looking at things. And that's something beyond a point, I don't think we are able to influence. So you've got to keep that in mind.
The next question is by Deependra, but I think he's asking to evaluate his profile.
Yeah, so best is for him to apply, it gets evaluated.
Sure. So then moving on, during placements, do companies categorize students based on experiences like 3 to 5 years, 5 to 8 years, etc.?
Yes, they do. And like we said, we have no control or influencing power as to what they come up with. So there are different companies who put their own criteria, and we do engage quite early with the companies that come to the campus and tell them about the profiles that are there. So at the end of the day, it is their choice.
We have another question. I have 51 months of experience with Cognizant at present. I have 2 queries. I have a CAP round call as well for 2-year MBA, but I'm keen on applying to IIMU 1-year DEM course. Will that be a conflict of interest if I register for CAP as well as the 1-year course?
Let me answer that. There is no conflict of interest. You can apply in both of them, and I wish you all the best for both of them.
And the second question is, can you provide some input about what to prepare for the interview for the DEM course?
I think my advice to you would be maybe talk to some of the students who are doing the course this time or alums, and they can tell you as to what their experience was, perhaps. And in any case, an interview is an opportunity for the panel to understand why you are interested in this program, whether you will benefit from the program or not, right? Because it's not about us somehow selecting or rejecting. The idea is the panel is trying to see a fit between your career aspiration as well as what the program offers. And if the panel thinks that you will benefit from the program, they go ahead and make an offer to the candidate. But at the same time, you're very welcome to talk to the students of the current batch or the previous batch.
Sure. Thank you. Another question, what type of exams or assessments are part of the curriculum? I think I
disappeared that question. So
yeah, that question is
the answered category that somehow it's gone there in the last.
Sure, yeah. So what type of exams or assessments are part of the curriculum? Are there any other certification courses or online courses as part of this course? For example, access to Coursera, Udemy, or Harvard online courses? What is the general day-to-day routine of a student of DEM course? Are classes held throughout the week or any off days in between or break schedule? What are the different types of accommodation available?
Let me give a very brief answer to many questions that you have asked. And as I said, you can talk to one of the students to get more idea. So we believe in ongoing assessment so that you continue to get regular feedback on the progress that you are making and whether helps the faculty understanding whether you are following the concepts taught in the class. So we have several quizzes, midterm exams, assignments, end-term examination, whole host of evaluation pattern to be able to, because evaluation also is a learning opportunity. Then as far as the whether we have online courses to support your education, we have very many things to help you learn over and above the regular classroom. First of all, as soon as you are admitted into the program, you get Harvard Business School online pack, which you can brush up your communication skills, quantitative skills, and things of that kind. And then during the course as well, we help the students sharpen their communication skills. We help them, as Professor Shah mentioned, discover yourself through a series of courses and workshops. And at the end of the day, we believe that you should graduate a very different individual compared to the individual who entered into the program. And that's what we call a transformational journey. It's not only about learning management concept, but basically you at an individual level feel transformed and ready to deal with the real life challenges in an organization. So, but for more details, I encourage you to talk to a current student.
I think maybe I could expand a bit on this question. So as Professor Rajesh mentioned, that we have the Harvard online courses to start with before we enter the program. So after you have confirmed your admission, you will get those courses, and they are basically the conceptual fundamental concepts of say maybe English as well as maths and few things which would help you along the way within the curriculum. General day-to-day routine of a DEM student of DEM course, I would say we did not have time to breathe in the first term. but it's exciting and rigorous at the same time. So we will have a lot of courses related to management, and we definitely, if I have to be an ideal student, I would rather be reading Economic Times every morning. Not practically possible, but we do get it in our hostels every morning. So if you're, someone who likes to keep touch, and we also have subscriptions for all the research portals as well as business papers which are being published. And we also have access to Economic Times and other journals, business journals throughout our program. So that would really help. And we use some of these resources while making presentations as well, say Statista or Marketline or such portals. So that's also something we do as part of our routine. Other than that, we definitely network around the batch. Our classes held throughout the week or any off days. So I don't think, except festivals, we have many off days, but you will be up to something or the other. And in term two, it's more that we have a mix of classes as well as some live projects that we are working on. So that gives us a chance to interact with the industry as well as do our courses at the same time. Different types of accommodations. We have two types of accommodations. There's executive as well as standard rooms. So I think that is preference based and also first come first serve. So that will come later. But I think the accommodation is very nice so far. All the facilities are there. So I hope that answers. And if you have any other queries related to the course itself or something, you can reach out to any of our cohort or the previous cohort. Moving on to the next question. What are the core IT learning? Are there in the course curriculum like Python or cloud-based learning?
You want to answer that, Mahima? Because
I think we do not have Python as a subject. We do use it in our analytics, advanced analytics course to actually get some outputs during projects, but it's not necessary that you can pick up only Python, because the professors also use R and Weka and other softwares while teaching. So we are being taught that. And cloud is a cloud technology and security is a subject in the third term. So we'll be having that shortly. Moving on to the next question. Is freelancing work considered in work experience?
I like to take it. So like freelancing, like mostly freelancings are part-time and limited in scope. But then also I suggest that you should write to admission office with all the documents. We can verify the same and then we can update you in this regard.
Thank you, ma'am. I have more than 6 years of experience in digital analytics industry, and I already hold an MBA in marketing degree. Is it worth taking this or after more than 6 years of experience and an MBA degree? I believe this has already been answered by Professor Janat, that we have to look at the bigger picture. But in case panelists, you would like to add something, please do.
It's a call that you need to take, right? That you have spent already 6 years. So whether from our perspective, as I said, 3 to 8 years is relatively the right set of work years experience that we can place participants. So from our perspective, it makes eminent sense that you can join, but you have to decide whether it makes sense for you. Likewise, you already have an MBA degree. Should you do the other one? Again, you have to take a decision whether it is good for you and in your best interest.
Okay. What kind of roles have been offered to students having a commerce background during the past placements?
Yeah, go ahead, Shekhar.
Yeah, so it is not dependent on your level of graduation. So the whole idea of MBA is that it lets you get into any kind of managerial role. It is not that it's an extension of your previous role. So this is not a longitudinal extension that I was doing X kind of a role, I do an MBA and I get into that same line. You can switch lines. So there isn't anything that we can say in specific, saying that with a commerce background, what kind of roles you would get. You stand the same chance as anybody with an engineering background or any other background stands for placement.
We have another question. Is it any diversity of male and female for admission side?
Let me answer this. So we encourage all participants, male gender, female gender, all of them to apply. You know that, at not only at IIM Udaipur, but in general, most management institutions encourage more and more females to come forward and be a part of the management workforce, right? There are stereotypes that some people have that, only certain gender people can do certain kind of role, but this outdated concept, right? So I would encourage whether you're a male or a female to come forward and apply, and you stand an equally good chance.
Thank you. At the end, we would be awarded MBA degree in DEM, or is it something like PGDM or PGPM?
No, you will be awarded an MBA degree in digital enterprise management.
Sure, thank you. Upon shortlisting, when can we expect interviews?
Very soon after the shortlisting, the admissions office will get in touch with you and schedule an interview.
Sure. I'm a pilot and do have a management experience as well. Would the institute consider this profile?
Kanu, can you answer this?
So it depends, like even if you are a pilot, but if you have a management experience and you have a corporate experience, so you can apply, because in our criteria, we require 3 years of full-time work experience. So you can apply with this experience. So it depends like how much management experience you have.
So the question is, it would be if you're a pilot full-time, or if you had a management role full-time. What matters for us is a full-time employer-employee relationship with an organization for a period of 3 years. So we believe, based on what you're mentioning, you're eligible, but you have any doubt, you can quickly call up with more details and shoot an email to us at the email ID that we had shared with you.
What type of courses before joining the program one can go through, which would help?
So as I mentioned, that if you are offered admission, immediately after an admission is offered, we will share with you an Harvard Business School online pack, which we believe the kind of courses that you have done a while ago and you need to brush up. We will be sharing all those courses, particularly in the area of communication and quantitative techniques.
Can we join with a sabbatical from TCS?
Yes, so I'm aware that TCS gives its employees the option of joining under sabbatical. You're very welcome to take the sabbatical. At the same time, you will be eligible to apply in any of the companies that come for placement here. So that does not stop you from applying into any other company that come for placement at IIM Udaipur. So you're very welcome to apply.
How many applications have been received till now for this program? Are there any vacations between the course, and how long? So there are term breaks between each of our term, which will be mentioned in the official calendar once it's out. So they are usually, it could vary from 3 to 4 days to a week between 2 terms. Are there any reservations for SC, ST, OBC for this program?
Shah, you would like to take that?
This is unlike our 2-year MBA. In this program, we do not have any reservation. But as a principle of a diversity, we encourage people with a diverse background, right? But we don't have any concept of reservation in this program.
Sure. Will it be in online mode if the COVID situation continues?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we've learned to adapt. Finally, we make sure the overall experience, that's something we make sure you get a high quality experience. But we work within the environment which we are, right? Ideally, we would, it's a campus-based program. We would like to move to a face-to-face as early as possible. But I think we make sure we don't compromise on the experience on the part of a participant.
Next question is, sir, I'm a patent attorney having worked in invention related to emerging digital technologies, have work experience of 7.5 years. And there is no question. I think it's a profile evaluation.
So I think, again, if you have a full-time 3-year, you are eligible and looks to be interesting profile, you would add to a group. So, we would encourage you to apply.
I would request the participants if they have any closing questions. We have answered most of them. Okay. There's one more question. When is the course starting this year, and what is the tentative date of travel to Udaipur?
The course is starting in April 6, and mostly the tentative dates of registration, if it is an on-campus, will be one which you have to be in campus 1 day before the registration, that is 6th April.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Next question is, I've already delayed my MBA for 2 years because of pandemic and fear of getting an online MBA instead of campus. Should I wait for the pandemic to end?
I wish somebody could answer that.
It's a personal call, I would say. But
yeah, so I wish you could predict when it would end, because that's still something that's baffling all of us. Like Professor Shah mentioned, in this particular course, whether it is online or face-to-face, the intensity is the same. So there is no dilution because it's online, or there is nothing different that happens because it was face-to-face earlier. So you keep that as an input and take your call in terms of whether you would like to be part of this particular cohort, or wait and see if better times come up and you have an opportunity at that point of time.
Thank you, sir. Another question is, in case of online mode, will the lodging and food expense be refundable?
If in case the classes will be starting in online mode, we will either refund or will adjust in the coming term fees.
So look, as an institute, we are not interested in collecting that money. Okay. I mean, only if you use it, then we'll charge. So I think it's as simple as that, right? So you don't have to worry about those issues.
Yeah, just to add to that, there are students on campus who are doing the course online. So they do use the facilities that are there. Like Mahima is one of them who's living on campus. So there are certain charges that become applicable to her on account of usage.
We have a few participants who have raised hands. Do we take questions or?
We won't be able to take questions, they have to type.
Okay, sure. Anurag, could you please type in your question in the chat or in the Q&A?
So there is a question here. I don't know if that got missed out or read from Pratik Mehta. Can I get placed back in Mumbai easily after this course? No, we can't guarantee you that. Companies make the offer to you based on the openings that they have. And in some cases, the student has a choice for location. In some cases, the company specifies the location. So that's something you may have to consider as part of an opportunity. Let's say. Your following question is, I have 5 years of experience at TCS, currently working as a business analyst in insurance, somewhat already in the field that people get through this particular course. Should I go for a 1-year full-time MBA? So Pratik, the answer is, are you looking at your first job or an incremental position, or are you looking at your career in total? So this program is intended to help you develop your perspective for the long term. It is not to fetch you the first job or just go back at a slightly higher level position in your existing organization. So you have to take a call as to what you wish to do and see whether, knowledge and digital and management will enable you to further yourself in the long career ahead of you.
Thank you, sir. I think this is one important question. What is meant by valid score of Gmat? Maybe Tanu ma'am, you could take that up.
Valid means like you should have a score which is valid at the time of admission. Mostly the Gmat and the GRE score is valid for 5 years. So if you have given the exam within that time frame, you can apply with the valid score.
And for CAT, it is 2019, right?
Yeah, for CAT, we are taking CAT 2018 and above.
Okay, 2018, 19, and 20.
We also have a question that is the IMU website down and they have not been able to access it.
Not to our knowledge, but we will definitely have that looked into.
Sure. Right. We have one more question. Is 3.5 years of experience very less to join DEM?
No, 3 years is the requirement. So you have 0.5 more than the requirement.
Sure. And I think again, there's a question around the range of score for Gmat exam, but I think we've covered that. So yeah. There's no cutoff or any range. We will consider the overall profile.
Can I take, there are no more questions that I see, Mahima. So I would like to say the following that, based on the conversation this evening in the webinar, I would encourage you to think through whether you shall benefit from the program. That should be the only consideration that should drive you to decide whether you should apply in this program or not. We believe at the Institute, we have put together a compelling program, which is very relevant for the times to come. And this is the future of the business, and this is the future of the world in terms of digital. That's how we view it. And if you have any remaining lingering question, please contact our admission office. 2nd of February is the last date to apply in this program this year. Beyond that, no more applications will be accepted. And all applications will be processed within a period of 10 days. So by 12th of February, results will be announced. The program begins on 2nd of April. Whether on campus or online, situation will tell us. But as Professor Shah mentioned, our experience of conducting classes online has been actually very outstanding. In fact, online or offline is more a matter of mindset. And we believe that conducting classes online has not had any impediment in the learning. And Mahima has attended this course this time. A lot of it has been mostly in the online, but we believe that the learning outcomes have not been compromised, nor has the placement outcome been compromised, right? So we thank you again for being here with us this evening. And I would like to thank profusely Professor Shah for being with us and sparing so much of his time. And Dr. Shekhar, who is the head of the Center for Digital Enterprise, Tanu from Admissions Office, and Mahima, who is the current batch participant of the program. Thank you. Have a good evening and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.